Gentlemen, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kellum, second by Commissioner Richardson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. That brings us to public comment. Attorney, if I could have you read the rules for public comment.
Public comment period shall be for the purpose of allowing members of the public to present any matter pertaining to county business or items on the Board of Commissioners' agenda. Remarks shall be addressed directly to the Board of Commissioners, not to staff, the audience, or media. The chair shall and did open the public comment period. Any speaker who wishes to speak shall approach the podium and not speak from his or her seat. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and physical address when he or she approaches the podium. Any citizen shall be allotted 3 minutes. Citizens will be allowed to yield their time on a specific topic by utilizing one more attendee's time. This would allow no more than 6 minutes. The total amount of time allotted for public comment period is 30 minutes. Your time will be displayed on the monitor in front of you when you stand. The time clock will start with 3 minutes unless yielded time to 6 minutes. You will hear a beep at 1 minute to alert you to wrap up your comments. If you are to yield time or time is yielded to you, then please let the chairman know in advance. Speakers will not be allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, or use language of a personal nature which insults or demeans any person or which, when directed at a public official, is not related to his or her official duties. The Board of Commissioners may accept written comments in lieu of oral statements. Written statements can be delivered to the county manager's office. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. First on our sign-up sheet is Mr. Jim Fink.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jim Fink, 405 Wedgewood Court. I'm going to yield most of my time to Mr. Isley. I just wanted to say one thing. Saw on the news the other day where Commissioner Elliott from Davidson County, was also our risk manager, is stuck in Israel. And I just want to go on the record, as most of you probably will as well, of wishing him well and hope he has good luck and keeps his head down, because we know there's a lot of stuff going on over there right now. So we hope that he stays safe. And by the way, thank you all for also with what you did on the last meeting on answering those questions I gave you. I know he was he was instrumental in getting that for me, and Lance, I thank you as well.
Sir.
All right, next on our sheet is Mr. Doug Isley. Mr. Isley, it appears you have 2.5 minutes left for Mr. Fink's time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I probably won't use that much. Doug Isley, 1790 Flat Rock Road, Reidsville, North Carolina. I'd like to echo what Mr. Fink said about our county employee and his daughter. God's prayers over them and safe travels back. I know they can't get flights back. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this because I didn't get this until the last minute, and I see they added this in as new business, that there'll be discussion on amending the public records policy and implementing a charge and setting fees. I know the county attorney is well versed in this, but I'm curious, why are you wanting to charge fees for public records? We're already paying more taxes now to cover costs. You're not supposed to make profit off of paper. You're only supposed to charge the actual cost. And you can't charge for information, and you can't charge for research time. So I'm curious as to what the reason is that the board wants to start charging people for stuff. I mean, the taxpayers, forgive me, the taxpayers, you're supposed to be able to come to the county and ask for it. You may not like it sometimes when you get questions given to you that's a little bit tough on you. But I'd say you need to stay away from this. And my question is, there's somebody else at the state level that's done this, and they're trying to hide their records, it appears, by making themselves the guardian of their records. What are y'all trying to hide? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Isley. Next, we have Mr. Don Powell. Don Powell has rescinded his time, so that will be the end of public comment.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
May I make just one statement in regards to the public records request? Is we get requests globally. It's not just locally. It's not just statewide. It's nationally. And now we're starting to get record requests from AI, and it's taking a lot of time. And again, this isn't just locally. It's a national thing that we're dealing with, that people are asking for. I mean, we had 3 requests. It's probably going to take close to 12 hours of just his time and staff time. So that's a part of what we're doing.
Well, I don't want to jump ahead to the new business, but what you just said, staff time, Mr. Isley mentioned a couple things that you're not allowed to charge for. Staff time, is that one of the things you're not allowed to charge for?
Statute allows you to charge a special service charge, which require extensive information technology resources, which is what we have recently received. In fact, right before the meeting, I got another one where out-of-state company wants records of building permits in the county to build their database. And they just don't want the plain building permit. They've broken it down into what they don't want and what they do want. They don't want any renovations. They don't want it. They just want brand new buildings. So it's that type of request that information technology can do it, but it just takes time.
Well, Mr. Albright, I'm going to hold you right there until we get to the new business, but thank you for clarifying that, Lance. Mr. Metzler, sorry. And that takes us to item 7, which is a presentation by Mrs. Mandy McGahee, Financial Director, and Mr. Hunter Wiseman of Thompson, Price, Scott, Adams, and Company. If you would please approach the front. What did I say?
I'd like to introduce Hunter Wiseman with Thompson, Price, Scott, and Adams, and he's going to present the FY25 audit results. Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. As Mandy mentioned, my name is Hunter Wiseman, representing Thompson, Price, Scott, and Adams, and it's my pleasure to present the fiscal year 2025 audit results for Rockingham County. In front of you, you have a copy of the draft financial statements. I will note that the financial statements still contain the draft watermark, as we are awaiting the LGC's final acceptance. We would expect that to be coming shortly. And you have a copy of the black presentation summary packet. That is what we were going to be following from tonight. In the black packet to the presentation agenda. Covering the AUC 260 letter to governance, and then move into the audit results and communicate any LGC required communications. And then there will be an opportunity at the close for any questions and comments. Me to page 1. A note here that we have audited the financial statements of the governmental activities and business type activities for Rockingham County for the year ended June 30th, 2025, in accordance with government auditing standards and uniform guidance, as communicated in our contract on April 25th, 2025. Our responsibility, as described by professional standards, is to form and express an opinion about whether the financial statements prepared by management with your oversight are presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States. And we have an unmodified opinion, which means that we have not found any reason to believe that there are material misstatements. We are responsible for communicating significant matters related to the audit that are, in our professional judgment, relevant to your responsibility in overseeing the financial reporting process. However, we are not required to design procedures for the purpose of identifying other matters to communicate to you. Please flip with me now to page 2. Risks that are identified, and these are identified for every single audit, not just Rockingham County, are the potential for management override of controls and the potential for improper revenue recognition. Going down now to significant accounting policies. We do note that the county adopted GASB statement number 101, compensated absences in the current year. And for significant accounting estimates, the following paragraph, we do note that significant estimates for the county are allowance for doubtful accounts, compensated absences, and depreciation. In terms of financial statement disclosures, I do want to draw your attention to the GASB Statement 101 disclosure, which is discussed in Note 9 of the financial statements. We are pleased to report that there were no significant difficulties when dealing with management and performing and completing our audit. And in fact, we always have a good working relationship with your finance staff, including Mandy and Justin. You have a very good staff. Going to the next paragraph, we are not aware of any uncorrected material misstatements in the financial statements, either individually or in the aggregate. If you will now flip to page 3. We are pleased to report that there were no disagreements with management during the course of our audit, and that the management representation letter was received dated February 11th, 2026. We are not aware of any consultations with independent accountants during the course of the audit. Specifically, this refers to any consultations in referring to a second opinion on the audit. Going now into other audit findings or issues. As I'll note later in this presentation as well, the LGC will no longer initiate a communication with the board for items that it considers financial performance indicators of concern. The notification is the presentation, and the board is required to respond within 60 days of the audited presentation. There are 2 items which the board will need to respond to from the data input worksheet relating to the quick ratio for the water and sewer fund and a budget violation that is disclosed in the stewardship section of the notes to the financial statements, which did not rise to the level of a finding. We will cover these in more detail later in the presentation. In terms of other matters, we do not express an audit opinion on the actuarial valuation reports that are used to determine the local government employees' retirement system, the register of deeds, the other post-employment benefits, or the LEOSA actuarial valuations. Going now to page 4. I do want to draw your attention to the implementation of GASB Statement number 103, Financial Reporting Model Improvements. That's going to be implemented in fiscal year 2026, and it will require a significant amount of time and resources in order to properly implement it. It involves changes to the management discussion and analysis and required supplementary information in the financial statements. Lastly, for the letter, restrictions on use. This information is intended solely for the use of the Board of Commissioners and management of Rockingham County and is not intended to be and should not be used by anyone other than these specified parties. Please flip with me now to page 5. This begins our summary of information. You can see that there's 5 years of fiscal year information presented. I'm going to cover specifically fiscal year 2025. The charts which follow this will present the trend line better than me covering all 5 years. Total fund balance for the general fund was $85.9 million, with unavailable fund balance in the general fund, be that non-spendable or restricted, of $16.6 million, and committed and assigned fund balance of $14.4 million. General fund expenditures, when including transfers out and excluding installment purchases, were $120.5 million. Fund balance available as a percentage of general fund was 57.53%, and unassigned fund balance of $54.8 million leaves an unassigned fund balance as a percentage of general fund expenditures of 45.53%. Revenues over and under expenditures before considering transfers and contributions for the general fund were $10.1 million, for the water and sewer fund $697,000, and for the landfill fund $239,000. Now moving into cash and investments versus fund balance or net position. Cash in the general fund was $82.1 million. All other governmental funds were $32.5 million. For the water and sewer fund, $59.4 million. For the landfill fund, $18.1 million. As noted earlier, fund balance for the general fund was $85.9 million. For all other governmental funds was $32.5 million. For the net position in the water and sewer fund was $54.2 million, and in the landfill fund, $10.8 million. The property tax rate was 0.58 and a collection percentage of 98.21%, or 98.19% when excluding motor vehicles. Total property valuation was $12.6 billion, with a total levy amount of $73.3 million. As a breakdown of general fund revenues, The largest source of revenue was ad valorem taxes at $73.1 million, followed by other taxes, licenses, and permits at $20.9 million, and intergovernmental revenues at $16.5 million, for total revenues of $125.2 million. For general fund expenditures, the largest sources of expenditures were public safety at $30.6 million, human services at $28.8 million, and education at $27.6 million, for total general fund expenditures of $115.1 million. Moving now to page 6. This begins our summary of charts information. It's the same information presented on the summary of information, but in a graphical form. It's a little bit easier to understand. Fund balance in fiscal year 2025 increased, as well as a slight increase in committed and assigned fund balance. As an analysis of fund balance available, Rockingham's increased to 57.53% from 50.03% in the previous year and is at its high since fiscal year 2022. It also outpaces the group weighted average as a percentage of general fund expenditures at 46.82%. I do like to always note with those items, there will always be a year trailing. The state compiles the information from the audit reports that we provide, and then we'll release that information in the following year. So we will always be 1 year behind. Going down to page 7. As an analysis of unassigned fund balance as a percentage of general fund expenditures, Rockingham's percentage increased to 45.53%, again an increase from 40.07% in the previous year, and is at a 5-year high. Analysis of revenues over and under expenditures before transfers also presents the information for the general fund, the water and sewer fund, and the landfill fund. You can see that the general fund has significant revenues along with the water and sewer fund and the landfill fund. Going down to page 8. This presents a breakdown of the cash balances and fund balances. As expected, the largest portion of cash and fund balance belongs to the general fund, followed by the water and sewer fund, the landfill fund, and then the other governmental funds. We also break down in the second part of this page the net investment in capital assets versus the unrestricted net position for the water and sewer fund and the landfill fund. For the water and sewer fund, net investment was $49.6 million against unrestricted net position of $44.6 million. The landfill fund had net investment of $3.3 million against $7.4 million in unrestricted. Going now to page 9. The property tax rate of 0.58 from 0.695 in the previous 4 fiscal years. You can see that compared to the group weighted average at 0.572. In the bottom chart, you can see that there was a slight decrease to the Rockingham County's collection percentage to 98.21% from 98.64%, and it is trailing the group weighted average at 99.41%. On page 10, you can see a breakdown of the general fund revenues and the general fund expenditures. As noted earlier, ad valorem taxes are the largest source of revenue at 58.41%, followed by other taxes and licenses and permits at 16.69%, and intergovernmental revenues at 13.24%. For general fund expenditures, the 3 largest expenditures are public safety at 26.65%, human services at 25.08%, and education at 23.99%. Going now to page 11. As I noted earlier, the LGC will no longer initiate a communication to the board for what it considers to be financial performance indicators of concern. They have a process now where we fill in the information from the audit report, and it lets us know if there's any items to which the board needs to respond. And you will have 60 days after the presentation of these audit results to respond to these items. The 2 items noted are the water and sewer fund quick ratio. The county had a quick ratio of -0.76. A quick ratio of less than 1 indicates that the unit owes more for its current bills than what it has on hand in unrestricted cash and investments, plus what is owed from customers, be that account receivables. This could indicate that the fund may have difficulty paying its current bills. If this pattern continues, the water and/or sewer system may not be sustainable. I do want to add a little bit of context there. While the LGC's financial performance indicator of concern does note this, if you look at the full audit report, you'll see that Rockingham County actually does have sufficient cash on hand in its water and sewer fund, but there was a decision that a lot of the cash was put into investment accounts in order to earn a higher interest return. The LGC cannot take that into consideration in its worksheet, but that is one of the items that I did want to highlight for the board. The second financial performance indicator of concern relates to an adopted ordinance level budget violation. Transfers that were made from the general fund to capital project funds of $28,892, which were unbudgeted for. Again, I will note there was a budget in place for these transfers. It was just that these transfers exceeded the budget. So it was not necessarily that there was no budget for them, but that they exceeded it. That concludes the presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. I appreciate your presentation. It's my recollection, normally we get this report earlier than we're receiving it. Can you elaborate as to why it's coming so late?
Yes, sir. So you'll see that on our audit report, there's a section at the back, which is the compliance section. The compliance section is very heavily dependent upon resources from the federal and state government. With the federal government shutdown that lasted for 47 days, that delayed their release of their uniform guidance for testing of grants. So we were not able to complete the compliance testing that was necessary to finish the compliance section. And it's worth noting as well that just because the federal government then started back up, it was not an immediate process to which they issued that guidance. It was actually that the agency had been, I guess in a sense, furloughed. The employees who had worked there had not been working on that guidance, and it did take them a little bit of time as well to get that guidance to us after the federal government had been able to restarted. In consideration of that, the state of North Carolina also gave an extension. They had originally moved the deadline date from October 31st to 12/31, and that is a part of their normal process that it will now be due at 12/31. They extended that deadline date instead to February 12th to provide an additional time in allowance for those items that were delayed.
So has this been submitted timely?
Yes, sir. It has been submitted timely. The LGC is still reviewing it, but as long as it is submitted, it is considered submitted timely. It does take about a month for the LGC to review the audit report and let you know that it is accepted. Once it's accepted, that's when we are allowed to send you a copy of the full audit report with the draft watermark removed, and it can be disseminated to the public at that point. But you don't want to put this out yet until the LGC has formally accepted the audit results.
Mr. Wiseman, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Wiseman, I don't think it's any secret that we discovered during the year a bank account that was unknown in the past. And I believe there's a process as far as opening bank accounts. And there are certain people that have the authority to do that or grant that authority. Could you kind of explain who has the authority to grant someone permission to open a bank account on behalf of the county?
Yes, so that authority would, I believe, come from the board or either the county manager, but in practical sense, oversight of the bank accounts is going to run through the finance officer, and the finance officer in their role is often going to be a signer on checks, and that's one of the safeties that the state's statutes include to make sure that items that are being paid are being approved by finance staff.
And there's also a process, I mean, it's by statute as far as deposits, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes.
If someone else is making deposits, could you explain what the process is and what reporting is required?
So any deposits that are being made should ultimately be reported to the finance staff. Largely, the finance staff needs to have the oversight of those deposits, not just in the sense that they need to know what's going into the bank, but they also need to know what cash is on hand, and they also need to be able to properly record it into the financial software that the county uses so they have a proper record keeping of it.
And as far as expenses out of bank accounts or deposits, are they supposed to be part of a budget?
They should. Yes, sir.
Okay. And while perhaps each year every account is not audited, every account is subject to an audit. Is that correct?
That is correct. In determination of what accounts will be considered as part of our audit testing, we're going to be looking at materiality. So with an audit, you're never going to test every transaction or look into every single account. But what we do try to do with our worksheets is to break it down and say, these are going to be departments or specific items where we identify that we have a material concern. We need to do additional procedures for testing on that. And that can change year to year. It depends on what items are going to be material in that year. And then there are also other elements that we include in that to make sure that we are getting a little bit of surprise in there.
Okay. I believe this particular account ended up not being material in the sense that it wasn't a huge percentage of the overall budget. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then I believe some corrective action was taken, and that also played into it not being material. Is that?
Yes, sir.
Could you elaborate on that?
I can. So in speaking with the finance officer, once it was identified that this account existed, they began to take the process to make sure that that account was closed and that those funds came back into proper recording for the county. Not only that, but her and her staff have also reached out to banks, not just in the area, but kind of spreading a wide net and asking them for, do you have any accounts on hand that are noted to be for Rockingham County? Can you tell us about them? And trying to confirm that their listing of bank accounts matches the listing of banks and the list of accounts that banks would have. So they are trying to make sure that going forward, any accounts that they are aware of, the bank is going to let them know as well, or to let them know we have an account on hand that you're not aware of, and then a follow-up process would begin.
And to your knowledge, no other account was discovered that was not previously accounted for. Is that correct?
To my knowledge, no, sir.
Okay. All right. Nothing further.
Commissioner Callum.
Earlier, I think on page 2, you talked about we identified the following significant risk, and you said that that was kind of common or happens. Could you explain to the public what exactly you're referring to?
Yes, sir. So the two risks that are noted are management override of controls and improper revenue recognition. And the reason why I say that these risks are present in every audit is that even with the best designed internal controls, and you're trying to follow your internal controls, you're trying to design things to catch anything that could possibly occur, there's always going to be the potential, specifically with these two risks that we note, because they're higher than other risks. When you have a management override of controls, management is in a fiduciary position where they are the ones charged with enforcing internal controls. If the ones charged with enforcing internal controls are not following those internal controls, that's going to be a significant risk. Then with improper revenue recognition, while we may not think of it as significant a risk when it comes to a government versus like a for-profit business that would be undergoing an audit, there are still reasons why a government may wish to move revenue into the current year, move revenue into a following year. There are other items that a government might consider beyond just trying to show a good bottom line or trying to beef up the books. Both of these items, we're not specifically saying that these are risks that we feel Rockingham County is especially subject to. We're drawing the attention that no matter how well your internal controls are designed, there can be risks still.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Richardson.
This is a very minor thing, Hunter. It's on page 5, halfway down, cash and investments regarding landfill fund. I heard you say 54 million, and it's written here as 59. So I take it that the written thing is correct.
Yes, sir. You are correct. Water and sewer fund should have cash of 59.4 million, and my eyes may have drifted to its net position at 54.2 million below.
It's not a problem. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, gentlemen, if there's nothing further, thank you, Mr. Wiseman. We appreciate your presentation this evening. that takes us to item number 8 on our agenda, new business. Mr. Albrecht.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have had, just in the past few weeks, many requests for public records.
Mr. Albrecht, could you get closer to your microphone?
You want me to go to the podium?
Whatever you prefer, we just couldn't hear you.
Okay, all right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. The most recent one came in just before this meeting. It's from an out-of-state company that is requesting building permits for new construction, and they want us to carve out additions, remodels, renovations, roofing, and they want this information for the past 2 years. And in his email, he says he's working for a company that tries to predict the housing available, and with his data team, working with a dental company, researching new areas where new residential growth is currently, and they're not being served by dentists. Well, that's not something that we have available, and we can just punch it up and put it out. We'll have to go to the IT folks, and I'll give them this and say, is this something we can put together? And that takes time. The law allows us to provide for, they call it a special service charge, although it hasn't been done until most recently. I've talked to other county attorneys that are getting similar requests for mountains of data. And, well, for instance, the lady that walked off from her family, Miss Smith, we had a request from a news agency, and they want all travel, contact, assistance, all documentation relating to her that's available, going back to 2001. And that's a mountain of information. That will probably involve the sheriff's investigative files, which I'll be happy to report to them is not available as a public record. But we got a request for old and new vendor policies. And she wants, this particular individual wants all emails, memos, directives, and all Rockingham County Department heads sent by the government regarding taking bids or doing business with legitimate local businesses owned and operated by any current or past Rockingham County employee. That's not something that we have readily available that we need as a county government. So I think the law allows us to do that. And in your policy, the existing policy on page 1, it talks about burdensome copying and actual cost. The policy was drafted in 2020, and it looks like the entire world has changed. It looks like everybody that has access to a computer these days wants records. We got another request for all travel records from the sheriff's office from the beginning of his term. That's a mountain of information. What bothers me about it the most, and some of the other county attorneys are getting the same request from an individual who identifies himself as Jules Gunewardena. And I've looked and tried to find who this Jules Gunewardena is. And I don't think he exists. I think it may be a AI. But for instance, he asked for existing vendor payment registers. And he wants to know how many uncashed checks we have. All of these things require time to put it together. If we had a report, and I think we do have a report for uncashed checks, we could just send him that. But he has a specific time frame that he wants us to look at. And we've gotten several from him. So the cut to the chase on this thing, I think what we need to do in cases where people are frequently making these requests for this type of information, we'd be allowed a special service charge, and we'd be allowed to tell them that our IT personnel is going to charge you whatever his hourly rate is based on his salary, whether it's $50 or $60 or $70 an hour to pull this together. Some of these things they can pull together in a couple of hours. One of our requests a few years ago was over 4,000 emails And that took several days to put together. And then we were in litigation over that same time with that same issue, so they had to be reviewed to make sure there was no attorney-client privileged information. But we're not trying to hide anything here. This is beginning to take more and more of our time. So we should be compensated for it. And if we do change this policy, I'll be happy to tell these folks when they send requests like this in, that we estimate it's going to cost $150 or $200 to get this together. Do you want us to go forward? Or do you want to narrow your request so it's not so expensive? Doesn't take as much time. So I'd like to be able to draft a policy if the board approves, and I'll work with the manager on it and see if we can't get something like that in our policy.
So just to be clear, you're looking for consent from the board to draft a policy. That's what you're asking for?
Yes, along the lines of, the statute is 132-6.2B. And sad thing about this is there's no case law on this statute. But I think if we're reasonable about it and we put that language in there, that gives us the authority to address these requests without costing the county a lot of money.
I do have one, for the benefit of the public, one point of clarification. I believe our current policy, and I imagine with our new policy, if someone wants to just view an existing document, there's no charge for anything like that, correct?
If it's available for them to view, they can come and look at it.
So this is not a matter of people not being able to see a document that they want to look at. This is a matter of trying to gather information that's not readily available.
That's correct, and they want us to put it in a form that we don't normally use. So, for instance, if someone wanted to know how many redheaded stepchildren are in Wentworth, that we could probably calculate that, but it's not useful to us.
Right. You do have the analytics for that, though. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, gentlemen, do we have any further discussion about Clyde's request, or Mr. Albright's request?
Yes.
Commissioner Callum?
I can understand if someone's out of state or global. But I think if you are a local taxpayer in this county, I don't think you should be charged. That's my opinion on it. I think the citizens in this county pay taxes, they deserve it if they want to ask for a request. But if somebody is out of state or global asking for thousands of pages, yes, I can see that. So that's my stance on it.
Commissioner Callum, if we could just, I would like just a little more clarification if we could get it. We currently do have charges for certain things like paper and aspects like that for in-county residents. Do you have an issue
And if
with?
that's normally how it's been going, then I'm good with that as well. If you normally been charging for paper, there's no profit, just whatever that is, I'm good with that.
Well, most of the local citizens, they want it on a either email, and if it's too much information to send in an email, we charge them for the flash drive, and we make that available downstairs. But that's the only
And
charge.
that's understandable.
Right.
That's understandable there.
If the local, they can come view it, right? If it's
They can
something
come and
that's,
look at it anytime they want to make an appointment and come and look at something, sure. Make it available.
as far as the time, it's the same, whether it's a local person or somebody in Virginia. It's the same, whether it's still the same amount of time, regardless of where the person's from. But ultimately, I think what Clyde's looking for, or Mr. Albright's looking for tonight, is some guidance. Do we want him to bring a policy? As far as this part of the debate, it would be something for the future.
Gentlemen, do I have a motion to move forward with Clyde drafting a policy for us to review?
I got an inquiry first.
Commissioner Richardson?
Counselor, there was wasn't exactly a request, but an insinuation of a request at a previous meeting that there would be requests for information from individual on this board. If that were to occur, are they subject to charges?
Well, the definition of a public record, involves where is the custody of the record? So if the county has custody of that record, then it's producible. But if it's a record that the county does not have custody of, then they'll have to come to you as a board member and ask for it.
Yes, and so we would be within our rights to charge for the time required to collect that data.
Any other discussion? Do we have a motion to allow Clyde to draft a policy regarding this issue? Motion by Commissioner Richardson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Hall. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to item 9, Commissioner comments. We will begin with Commissioner Callum.
First, I'd like to wish the Reidsville boys basketball team success tonight in their game. If they win, they move on to the Final Four. Same success I wish to the Rockingham County girls basketball team. Tomorrow is Election Day. Get out and vote for who you wish to support. And also, you know, I want to send out a Chris Elliott and his daughter. We thinking about you and praying for you and hope for a safe return. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Berger. Commissioner Richardson.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to recognize one of our employees, works over at the animal shelter, Ms. Brittany Flynn, been with us several years. Not the easiest nor most pleasant, represents our county well and often has to deal with problems and provides a very vital service to our constituents in taking care of stray animals and others that have to be dealt with. So many thanks to that. I consider Chris Elliott, our risk manager, a personal friend. So on a personal basis, I want to extend whatever support I can to him. Certainly our prayers go with him. And I was glad to see he seems to be a little more relaxed than after the first day. And I think he's actually providing a service, letting us know what's going on over there. He's certainly become popular with the media. I need to make a public apology to some of my constituents who have asked me why we don't do something about the board itself, do something about unnecessary comments that are coming and questioning the board and taking our time and making insinuations. And I would just, I do feel apologetic to those constituents, but it's been the policy of this board that we do more than the minimum requirement as far as public comment is concerned, and that's in the interest of serving the public better and being as transparent as we can. So I'm not suggesting any change to our public comment portion there. As Mr. Callum talked about tomorrow, you go do your patriotic duty, do your civic duty and vote. I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to make a good decision, the best decision you can on the information. I would mention to you what my papa told me as I was coming up, and he told me to this on numerous occasions in various situations, but it seemed appropriate. He says, don't be swapping a good mule in midstream. So many thanks to all of you for being here. Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to mention that the Rockingham County Senior Games and Silver Arts are accepting registrations through March 31. Packets can be picked up at your local senior center, R-Care in Reidsville, Garden of Eden Senior Center, or Madison Mayodan Senior Center. Additionally, the Madison Mayodan Rec has received a grant through North Star Digital Learning. You could receive a free computer if you register and complete a 16-course computer lesson. The lessons can be done from anywhere. All the senior centers have a computer lab on site. and they can help you with the lessons. But you do need to go to the senior center in Madison to register. And with that, again, our prayers are with the Elliott family and their church members who are in Israel at the moment. And with all the tensions in the world, guys, keep your eyes open, be safe. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. I would too like to just add my prayers are going out to the Elliott family and their church while they're stuck in Israel. I'm sure that's a very scary situation that they're in, so I would just ask everyone to keep them in your prayers. Our next meeting will be on Monday, March 16th here in the Governmental Center at 6:30 PM. And with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Callum, motion by Commissioner Hall, second by Commissioner Callum. All in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned.